Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now we are joined by 10th Man, Arwin, Refracted Curvature, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome
Same thing.
and all. Yes.
Let's get it on! Let's get it on! Let's get it on!
Good afternoon,
Man, Neil
everyone.
said hi for everybody.
Well, good that you're all genned up and enthusiastic. It sounded like there was a problem when I opened the line. You were like saying my name as I opened the line, and I slightly panicked. Everyone okay in Discord?
All great.
If
All good.
Nathan, if you knew what was going on while you were making the announcement until you turn on the mic to us, you would be panicked.
Okay, well, I'm glad I didn't hear any of
That's
it.
the truth.
Today we're going to continue with Johnny Harris, hence I've left the title in the live stream, which I don't typically do. I just, as we don't know what, or I don't know what I'm going to do most live shows, it's just left blank till after the fact and then add whoever we've covered. But in this instance, we are only halfway through yesterday when we completed the 2-hour live stream, which isn't typical. But I'll stick his live stream, or his video stream, or whatever you want to call it, link to his video in the live stream chat now, so that you can go and check out his video, and more importantly than anything, let him know that we're covering his video in the nicest possible way, but mainly let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And as I've said on all the other shows and dozens of other response videos that we've done to date in recent times on Flat Earth Debate, the idea is that they'll do the same. They'll reciprocate. They'll put my link in their video when they address what we've pointed out, the flaws in their arguments. But in the spirit of traditional Flat Earth Debate, we will ask a couple of housekeeping questions. So any evidence that you can have gas pressure without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
Impossible.
Negative. Without the container, there
We
can be
wouldn't-
no pressure. Conspiracy
Yeah,
cats.
all of us would be dead. We wouldn't be here doing a show.
Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge? That's a horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth.
Heliocentrist.
Gone. I heard heliocentrist. Just
Well, the heliocentrist would be a lot cooler if they did have the evidence.
that's a Dazed and Confused reference.
Sure is, buddy. You're like a steel trap.
I get older, they stay the same age, right?
Yeah.
Okay, filthy. Meanwhile, Earth is flat. There is no geometric physical limitation called the horizon. We debunked that in 2020 with the Black Swan. If the Earth was a sphere, radius 3959 miles, then every distance to the horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. And the image known as the Black Swan shows the horizon beyond the physical geometric limitations of an Earth sphere, radius 3959. Therefore, Earth's not a sphere, and the horizon's not geometric. But we should...
Well, even if the
Go on, whoever that was.
even if the horizon conformed to the 1.22 times the observer's height in feet, it would still be below surface level in their math.
Correct. The Dingleberry,
So it wouldn't be proof.
the Dingleberry that we labelled it is what John's describing. So if you imagine the line drawn out, like in this diagram here with the two cats, imagine a line drawn across the top of it. Well, that's your reference plane. And it might be that that's transposed to the middle to make it into the equatorial plane, but either way, that's what you're going to be acquiring your angles from. Now, in terms of the way the geometry for Earth curve works is you take your height in elevation, let's call it up here for the sake of argument, and then you draw a line that goes through surface level, about here-ish, and then meets the tangent point for the presupposed geometric horizon we debunked in 2020. Therefore, John, do you want to repeat your statement?
Even if the horizon conformed to their understanding of 1.22 times the observer's height in feet, it would still be below surface level in their math, and therefore false.
Perfect. Okay, so as you can see whizzing on by right now, you've got the link to Johnny Harris's video, and we do encourage you to go and let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And if you want to encourage him to, I don't know, I've been aiming low and saying that they should at least do a response and put a link to my video in it. But we have a public show. These people could actually join, regardless of their, wow, they're so big that what, they're beyond responding to people debunking them because of our meager size at only just under 25,000 subscribers. That seems like a reasonably crap excuse to me. Nevertheless, we will continue until somebody does, hopefully, put my link in their video response, or actually join the show and contest what we say in terms of our pulling apart of their rhetoric. But we'll continue with the video as we left off yesterday. Feel free to check out yesterday's video. It was a good show, actually. I really enjoyed yesterday's show, so feel free to check out whatever number it is. I've forgotten my loose track.
Gets in the water, he puts a telescope right above the surface of the water, and then puts a boat on the canal with...
This is where we got to yesterday. So in terms of the way this is being represented, suddenly we're seeing the side of Rowbotham's head, the side of the boat, and the side of the canal.
The 1 meter tall post on it. So
1 meter won't change in distance. So as you move the boat further and further away in this orthographic representation that this guy's just taken straight off the cover playbook from Globe Earth Debate, you've got a boat that's ascribed to being 1 meter, right, as he just detailed. Well, 1 meter, if you push it further away from the telescope, is still 1 meter. Now, let's say I put the scale right out to the edges of the page, and I say the telescope's over here on the right, and the boat's over here on the left. And again, like he did, I put 1 meter on it, yeah? But between the telescope and the boat, I draw another line and write on it 1 million miles. Now, as far as the diagram's concerned, in orthographic view, you can still draw a line from the telescope to the boat, and the boat's a meter. Therefore, you can see it, right? Well, no. The boat at 1 million miles, shockingly, is too small to see. But in this type of diagram, that's an orthographic view, which we fondly name Muppet vision, because you're seeing the side of your own head. Like here, this is the side of your own head looking through the telescope. You don't see through a telescope like that. You never see the side of your own head when you look down the lens. It's nonsense. But it's a way of removing an aspect, perspective, and then relabeling that aspect when feet and inches, or meters in this case, one of them, doesn't change with distance. So you can reascribe that effect, where things get too small to see, as being Earth curve. And when it doesn't conform, in the case of this example, you can reascribe an effect inside view again with a value at 7/6r and call that, quote, refraction, terrestrial refraction. Again, when you see in the side of your own head and bending a line of sight to beyond a geometric position, and so it goes on.
So what he wants to see is if
We're not a side of his own head, I can tell you that for nothing.
the Earth is curved, if it's a
No, he's not looking to see if the Earth's curved. He's showing you how perspective works, but you've taken that and hijacked it and put it into a Muppet vision mathematics that removes perspective.
globe, this
Well,
post will serve
Even in Muppet vision, level is still horizontal. It has to be.
Correct.
So this whole claimed experiment is nonsensical.
start to disappear over the horizon.
And there he is. He just drew it out. I'll see if I can get back to it so you can have your example on screen as he says it. So yes, precisely as John's just said, you get to a point where they're drawing out a line because you've still got to maintain a horizontal. And there it is, right? So where's Earth curve? Well, it's taking place below surface level. Now, in this case, he's drawn out eye level, but surface level is parallel with eye level. Horizontal. That's what horizontal is. But where's the boat? And where's the curve that's blocking it if this is a hill? Well, it's below surface level. That would be the line that you drew out that you could transpose down to the celestial, not the celestial plane, the equatorial plane. But you've got to have it. It's part of the geometry.
Well, when you want to fool the world that what we live on is a sphere. You've said it before. The dingleberry is surplus to requirement. It doesn't even belong there. It's not part of the reference that's ever being used.
Indeed.
So he does it. The boat goes away. It goes the entire 6 miles of the canal, and it stays in sight the entire time.
You see, what you've just done is you've just put something back into view. Well, what if I change the value? I'm glad it's got this diagram up. It assists me beautifully. Let's say I change the value from 6 miles to 100 miles. We still see the boat? In this diagram we can, can't we, ladies and gentlemen? Doesn't matter what value I put. 6 miles, 600 miles, 600,000 miles, 6 million miles. There'll still be a dotted line between the observer and the boat, because all aspects of perspective have been removed. And what were they replaced with? Well, you saw what they were replaced with when he unbent the line that he would claim is blocking the boat. All right, a boat that's 1 million miles away could, in that example, only be obscured from view because Earth curves got in the way. You're like, well, how does that work mathematically? Well, because 1 foot doesn't change with distance. 1 meter doesn't change with distance. It's always 1 meter. Doesn't matter how far away you are from a meter high object, it's always a meter high. So in this diagram, it doesn't matter how far away from it, it's always a meter high and you've always got a dotted line between it. That's why you get numpties asking flat earthers why you can't see New York from Ireland. Like, well, because it's too small. Yeah, but on a flat earth, you'd see it. No, Muppet. You think that you can see forever because your maths ignores perspective and calls it Earth curve.
It doesn't dip over the horizon. And he's stoked. He's like, man, I just proved that the Earth is flat. And I did it with a telescope and a boat. Like, screw you, science. Like, I'm making...
Sorry, screw you,
No.
cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation based on a hypothesis. Screw you. No, your attributions to Rowbotham as not understanding science and claiming that he said screw you to it, it's just your lack of understanding and projection onto Rowbotham of your lack of knowledge of science. Because this isn't an experiment. Observing the natural world in a view through a telescope, and then you guys saying that when he straightened out the line that was called Earth curve with a 1 meter boat not disappeared, that doesn't account for angular size reduction at distance, aka perspective, how we see the frigging world. You put it in a side view that we don't see it in. So what, you think it's joyous
Nathan.
because he's actually seen the effects of perspective working as they do through the telescope, unlike your Muppet vision view? That's not shocking. Go on.
Nathan, he said Rowbotham said that he proved the Earth flat. That's not what he did. He debunked Earth curve.
Right.
breakthroughs right here in Cambridgeshire. And then he writes this book, where he fleshes out this experiment and several other...
Not an experiment. No matter what Rowbotham labels it as. Doesn't matter what you believe science is. You've declared in the yesterday's video response to this same exact video that the old school science was looking through a telescope and then coming up with a description. I mean, you haven't got a vaguest idea what science actually is, have you?
others that he does. But wait, this experiment's like
It's not an experiment, Muppet.
kind of legit, right?
No, not in the slightest. Not an experiment, just an observation. Just observing things going in the distance and get smaller while you call them a meter. So the boat was a meter? All right. Does that in any way account for the fact that it got smaller into the distance and eventually would disappear? Nothing to do with any physical obstruction whatsoever, but everything to do with the angular limitation of your eyeball or the telescope in terms of our lens sizes work with the Rayleigh criterion. Oh, these are all things that go straight over your head, aren't they? Because you think it's just a 1 meter boat. And what if it doesn't disappear at 6 miles? It's not because Earth's curve's getting in the way, according to Rowbotham. Yeah, we've already had this pointed out by 10th Man. He's debunking the assertion that there's a physical geometric limitation to your view that you show us in Muppet vision. That's orthographic view that excludes perspective.
Like it adds up. Like
Does it? These are all side Muppet vision. Yeah? Notice how we've got the below surface level Earth curve, physical obstruction with a tangent point. Where's the refraction? There isn't any, because you've got to make a geometric assertion that takes place where you see the side of your own head and a boat that doesn't change in angular size. So all of this is geared toward your begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Earth curve mathematics in its assertion that you see the side of the hill that you're looking at if you think you've got Earth curve between you and something getting too small to see.
his numbers were all correct about the
Were they? Well, they all seem to be in Muppet vision as far as I can tell.
circumference and the dip of the curvature. Like why did
Apart from that last one. that was on screen for approximately a fraction of a second with fuzzy overlays on top of it. The actual representation didn't get more than a fraction of a second. So we'll have a look at it and we'll pull it apart and we'll have a look for a little bit more than just a fraction of a second. See if I can pause it. I don't know if I can be slick enough with my peppery fingers.
Did you catch what he said?
I don't know, but I want to look at the diagram that was up for just a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
See if I can catch it. There we go. Oh, well, that beautifully clear and crisp. Now, this looks more like the only view you could ever diagrammatically represent as what you saw through a telescope. Right? It's got barrel distortion in the lens for some reason, but regardless, right? If I put this mountain, let's say, at 1,000 feet, but make the distance between me and it 15 miles, then it's going to be smaller. It will literally shrink towards the horizon. Is that because Earth curve's coming up and blocking the bottom of it? Or is it because further away it'll be smaller? Well, in your maths, it won't be. It'll always be 1,000 feet, so that you can call the effect Earth curve coming up from bottom up, blocking the bottom of this mountain. But in reality, this is the only view so far that you've put up for a fraction of a second that represents what you'd actually see through a telescope. Everything else has been your globe Earth begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking, Muppet vision that you call Earth curve. And how Rowbotham's undone that. Yeah, that's because he's debunking Earth curve, my friend. Yeah, we don't see the world in the way that you've been representing it. Other than this, like I say, that's only been on screen for a tiny amount of time. Let's see how quickly it goes away.
The curvature.
Oh, and it's gone.
Like, why didn't it dip? Like,
Why didn't it what? Dip? It does dip. If you had any idea about celestial navigation, you'd appreciate that you've got to account for how high you are above the horizon, because it's how high you are above the deck. And your feet, which might be in contact with the surface, and your eyes are above it, even though it seems to rise to your apparent eye level. That would be to say that the world expanding out in front of you moves upwards to meet your eye level. It's not falling away 8 inches per mile squared, but you're still looking down into the distance at whatever height you are above the deck. That's dip. It's accounted for when you're taking flat Earth elevation angle measurements, the ones that gave you your maps and models, including the globe, that require Earth have a flat baseline. That's Earth be flat to take the angles.
why was the boat still in sight? There's nothing wrong with this experiment. Parallax.
It's not an experiment. Nothing wrong with it. He's just looking at a boat. Literally, that's all he's doing. He's watching a boat go into the distance. You think this is an experiment? What was the independent and dependent variable? What was the null hypothesis?
Got that great name.
Yeah, what does it mean? Why would he call himself Parallax? Again, highlighting what a clown you are when it comes to these references. What does Parallax mean? Why has he used it as a pseudonym? You have no idea. It's just a DJ name. So literally, your research has led you to hear the name Parallax and literally put up a picture of a DJ. What a wanker.
He's an expert, man.
Just make sure you let Johnny Harris know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me Flat Earth debate, took apart some of your misapprehensions about physical geometric sphere edge horizons in Muppet vision. Just let him know. You know, there's his link. I'd hope he'd do the same for me, were he to say, oh no, we do see the side of our own head, just like my maths. Things do say the same feet and inches or meters value, regardless of distance, just like in my math. Yeah, if he comes back at me, better damn well put a link to my video, because I get no support from YouTube. I'm not part of the algorithm. Yeah, no, they're not going to give me millions of views. They'll give them to you. When you've got a cursory understanding of your own bloody model and a misapprehension of the anthropomorphization of flat Earth into flat Earthers. That's what will give you the views. Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys.
Morning.
Maybe he was onto something. No, this is stupid. This is like a third grade science experiment in your backyard.
It's not a third grade science experiment. I would imagine that people slightly above third grade would actually have a better scientific understanding than you do, given that they're taught the scientific method in about 5th grade. But you think, this is a third grade experiment. Well, no. Experiments establish the cause of a naturally occurring phenomena. Okay? So what's this? A Muppet vision bending of the light from the sun? Oh, all right. How many times have you seen the side of Earth and the side of your own head and the sun? Never. All right. Isn't that fascinating? But yeah, here we are again with Muppet vision. You seeing the side of an Earth curve that he presupposes exists. And the sun being below the surface level at a tangent point that exists in the maths below horizontal.
This experiment doesn't take into
Not an experiment, you stupid clown. Stop saying it.
account how the natural world actually.
Yeah, science deals with the physical and natural world, that's physics. But it establishes cause and effect that you observed in a natural phenomenon. That's what science actually is. Go on, John.
I was going to ask, did in that Muppet Vision orthographic view, did he have eye level when he was talking about refraction?
He did on one of the diagrams, an earlier diagram, not this one though, no. He's got both of them bent down, one at a tangent and one at a refracted 7/6 of the radius tangent to the sun.
Okay, so he's doing the claim to refraction, not the actual claim they have. It's one where they do the, what Chocolate calls the okey doke.
Yeah, his claim is that there's a geometric limitation to boats and buildings at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet as laid down in physical earth curve geometry. But now he's going to do the old switcheroo, as Chocolate would phrase it, and claim that, no, we don't have earth curve, we have refraction. Correct.
Works and how light behaves and refracts based on the different air densities. This is like
So light refraction based on different air densities. It sounds like you're scratching the surface of something called Snell's law, which requires a difference in medium, not a difference in air density. Further to which your Muppet Vision refraction is nothing whatsoever to do with light moving through mediums or air densities. It is.
Yeah, and the air density. Sorry, the air density also is horizontal and not vertical, which is what you would need for what you think you're going to achieve with it.
What he thinks he's going to achieve when he shows examples of refraction isn't what he's applying in globe Earth mathematics and was applied to Rowbotham's observation in Muppet Vision when transposed into a globe Earth world where the boat's only a metre and will never change with distance, and the rate of the refraction, terrestrial in nature, otherwise known as standard refraction, was 7/6 of the radius value. Now that has everything to do with a radius value and 7/6 of it, but nothing to do with what he's just shown. So I'm going to call stupid, as opposed to fraud, scumbag, liar, intellectually dishonest, because he's thick. He doesn't have the slightest idea what he's talking about. He's just said refraction. No. Terrestrial refraction, yes. In your claim, it's terrestrial refraction. That's got nothing to do with light traversing different air densities, though. And everything to do with 7/6 of the radius value arbitrarily imposed on a bent line in an orthographic Muppet Vision. So what? You're going to say it's light refracting? No, that's something completely different, my friend. You don't know that because they've both got the word refraction in. One is terrestrial refraction in Muppet Vision, like you showed with the sun on your diagram. That's 7/6 of a radius value in standard form. Not light bending through a different medium or light bending through a different air density. No, my friend, you're mistaken. That would be Snell's law if there was a difference in those mediums. This is not Snell's law when you arbitrarily apply a radius value. No, my friend, you are wrong. Did you not know that you were actually detailing terrestrial refraction? That's atmospheric refraction, because atmospheric has a little clue in the title that there's something sphere-shaped about it. And that's the radius value, 7/6 in standard form, that will be applied to your refraction. That's standard, aka atmospheric refraction. But after showing how light changes when it goes through a piece of glass, that's a different medium, and verbally stating that it's different air densities, no, that's not even Snell's law, but definitely not 7/6 of a radius value. You utter clown who doesn't know his own religion and his own claims and the words that he uses. Refraction and terrestrial atmospheric refraction are very different things, Johnny. Now, were you, as we are, advanced heliocentrists, you'd understand that refraction isn't terrestrial refraction. We understand that because we are better than you when it comes to understanding how the globe works. You think that it's just refraction because it's in the title, even though there's a word that came before it? Atmospheric? Clown.
stuff that people already figured out, and like Parallax is sitting there getting wet in a canal, like trying to observe this on his. No, this does not prove anything. But
sorry, was that a Valley Girls hand wave dismissal No. No. Yeah, no, we actually observed the boat. It didn't go over a physical geometric sphere at horizon that was figured out to be 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It didn't do that.
Parallax didn't.
Yes.
Okay. About a minute back or less, when he was playing the two parts. Oh, what about this? What about that? He says he got the numbers right. Okay, what numbers did he get right? The numbers to your Earth curve, 1.22 times the square root. And so now he says refraction. Well, how did you ever measure it if it's refracted? He snatched his wig off, like Chocolate says right there, because he admitted he got the numbers right. Earth curve should have been at 1.22, but now he's saying it's refraction. Well, if it's refraction, how do you know Earth curve should be at 1.22? It's always changing with the weather.
Exactly. If you're going to assert that you're refracting the horizon with an atmospheric 7/6 of the radius in standard form refraction, unlike what he showed because he's a charlatan, or just thick. Let's be honest, my friend, we already know you're stupid. We know it's not intentional deceit. You're not actually a fraud. Although ignorance is really no excuse, nevertheless, we know it's stupidity rather than malice when you say refraction and show how light behaves when radius-based 7/6 takes place in this mathematics on screen here. You know, below surface level, as labelled in the maths, you have a geometric tangent point horizon. Now, you require a tangent to it for the maths to function. But you're bending that line to a point beyond the horizon. Well, you haven't got a geometric horizon to make your maths work anymore, I'm afraid, Johnny Harris, if you're going to make this assertion as was asserted to Rowbotham, aka Parallax, if you knew what that meant. It's not a DJ name. Yeah, maybe look it up. You'd be shocked what it actually means. Don't anybody mention what it means. I don't want him to have his homework done for him by us. Meanwhile, your geometric horizon is a limitation in the maths that's necessitated and must be there in order to assert that you've got a physical geometric Earth curve with an R value to refract the rate of the R value in your terrestrial refraction. To move the horizon beyond where the boat, which won't change in angular size in your maths, would have disappeared were it to have gone over your Earth curve when it got too small to see. You know, we can rip apart every single aspect of both Rowbotham's stupid claim, if it's claimed to be an experiment, when it's just an observation of a boat moving into the distance, and your rebuttals where you've got a 1 metre value ascribed to something getting smaller and smaller, and then saying, oh, well, it's not the Earth curve which had got in the way, it's that the light's been bent with a radius value called atmospheric refraction that's got sod all to do with how light actually behaves, because we don't see the side of light rays, ever.
I would like to give him some points for getting refracting the target with respect to the horizon. I'd like to give him some points for that. That's actually terrestrial refraction instead of inflating the globe.
Fair enough.
Hear any of this. He didn't want to talk about atmospheric refraction.
Atmo what now? So you are aware, so let's just say you're a fraud. Johnny Harris is being called out as a fraud. He's just said it. Atmospheric refraction. So you know that it's not refraction then? Because you've just labelled it and said that, what, Parallax didn't know about? Begging the question, atmospheric refraction. What, atmo, that's air. Sphere, sphere-shaped air. No, my friend, air doesn't take the shape of a sphere. Why would Parallax have to know about air arbitrarily taking the shape of a sphere when it doesn't do that? But according to you, it does, when you specifically ascribe this effect to sphere-shaped air refraction. That's not refraction. That's Muppet vision side view, bending the rate of the ray that you see in side view at 7/6 of the rate of the radius. Hence the word spheric when you talk about how air, that's atmo, is. Now, that's a begging the question oxymoron. Air doesn't take the shape of a sphere, Johnny Harris. Why would anybody assume that air behaves in such a stupid way? No, it definitely doesn't take the shape of an arbitrary sphere to bend the light at a rate of the radius that you can't measure if you're refracting the light that you see the world with. Paradoxically speaking, you can't apply this value at the rate of the radius if you can't measure the radius because you can never see it at a geometric tangent point. That's Earth curve, the one that used to get in the way of boats until it didn't. And suddenly we've got a begging the question sphere-shaped air refraction at 7/6 of a radius to contend with that we should have thought of. No, it just seems that you globe believers will insert any old bullshit story and literally make air, something that's fundamentally unbonded to itself, suddenly sphere-shaped. So unbonded gas molecules that move around at high velocity in all directions, bouncing off each other, suddenly take the shape of a sphere, do they? No, my friend, they take the shape of a container that they're in. Bounce off the walls of it, as defined by NASA. The force exerted on the walls of their container. That's what gas pressure is. So no, sphere, atmo, is an oxymoron, and there's no way anybody should have had to have automatically assumed you're begging the question fallacy, my friend, let alone parallax.
And air density and how light behaves in different media.
By different media, air, what was the second media? Different would mean there was two. You just said atmosphere, that's one. Yeah, because you're confusing Snell's law, where it has to traverse different mediums in order to refract. But you haven't got a different medium, you've just got air. Just happens to be sphere-shaped, therefore bend light at a rate of the radius. Now you're begging the question, my friend. As were every single rebuttal that came parallax's way. Good.
That's a really good okie doke, right? Convincing people that warmer air, comparing warmer air to cooler air is like comparing two different mediums. Like, they've really got people with that nonsense. It's crazy.
Too complicated, too abstract. You can't touch and feel that stuff.
No, you're right. You can't touch and feel sphere-shaped air. It's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. But what? Parallax was told that he should have known about it already.
Instead, Parallax sees science and...
Sorry, what science would that be? The establishment of cause and effect reason based on a systematic experimentation-based hypothesis to form theory? No, you just beg the question that air arbitrarily takes a sphere-shaped. And then what, insisted that parallaxes ignored the science? What, the scary science of looking through telescopes? That's exactly what he's doing. According to you, he's doing science. Not that he is. Not that looking through telescopes like you, the bonehead, thinks science is, back in the old school science days before it all got scary, with just so stories that didn't have any empiricism.
And observing reality as a much simpler task.
Sorry, observing reality or putting it in side view and ascribing a meter value that doesn't change with distance and then saying that light, when you see it side on, bends at the rate of the radius. Is that seeing reality? Because the only bit that could even remotely be claimed to be reality you had on screen for less than 1/10 of 1 second. Literally. That was the only diagram that could even be compared to looking through the telescope. Every other diagram is your Muppet Vision globe view looking at the side of your own head, and you've got the audacity to think that that's looking at reality? No, mate, Muppet Vision isn't reality. You never see the side of your own head when you look through a telescope, like in all your diagrams. Apart from the one. Remember we paused on it?
In his book, he says, nature speaks to us in a peculiar language, in the language of phenomena.
That's the language of science when you're talking about discovery, based on that exact word we've used multiple times. Yeah, damn right it is. It's based on phenomena. Trying to find the cause thereof. Yeah, you're trying to establish the cause of an effect, a phenomenon being an effect that you want to know the cause of. That's science.
She answers at all times the questions which are put to her.
No, she doesn't. That's a reification fallacy if Parallax said that. Science is a method, and nature doesn't talk to anybody. Hasn't got any bloody lips.
Just go out and put a question to Mother Nature.
Nature, is this guy a fuckwit? Yes, Nathan! He's really stupid! Wow, nature really did answer me, Johnny Harris. I just put the nature a question about how stupid you were, and it absolutely confirmed that you were really, really sick. Let's just make sure we all let Johnny know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We were really positive and really kind in our responses to your assertions that we could quite literally put questions to Mother Nature. I mean, it wasn't highly embarrassing when I did just that and asked Nature if you were a total clown. And she replied, yes. Yeah? What Dumbo. So go and let him know, Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. We responded to your video about why people think the world is flat, even though you were basically just talking about the people and not the world.
And she'll answer it.
She did. She said you were an idiot.
Scientific methods become more sophisticated. They become harder for...
No, the scientific method hasn't changed. Step 1, observe natural phenomena. Step 2, formulate a suppositional cause and effect reasoning statement where the dependent variable is your observed phenomena and the independent variable is that which you assume will cause it. You also have in the hypothesis, that's your suppositional statement, yet to be validated, a null. A null being the antithesis of your prediction. Not if A causes B, but if A, no effect, aka null. Zero difference result. Both can't simultaneously be true. Upon validation, you'll either cause the effect when you vary A or not cause the effect when you vary A, therefore proving one or other of the statements. Both can't simultaneously be true. Offering the empiricism of the method upon varying A, that would be actualization of hypotheses, plural, lots of them have to be done systematically to validate upon experimentation, also known as hypothesis actualization. Now, upon validation of a cause and effect relationship, i.e. you presumed a cause, varied it, and it did cause it, you can then form a theory. Those are the steps of the scientific method. They're not changing or getting more advanced. The method is empirical. It's been well sorted out and used to advance humanity. It's been used to develop the computers that you're making your videos with. It's been used to advance medical science and stop people dying of scurvy. Science has advanced humanity. It's very simple. It's very narrow in terms of how you can apply it, and it hasn't got more advanced. Only our understanding has become more advanced, and we have experienced technological advancement as a result of understanding offered through the empirical method of science, which you don't understand. As I say, make sure you let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent us. Heaven forbid any of these clowns that ever actually get a response from us that rip them to shreds should actually respond. The slim to limited to none chance that they'd actually put a link to my video, so I might actually benefit from doing this work all day, every day for YouTube, only to be shoved to the bottom of the lists, so that clowns like this can tell people about asking Mother Nature questions. Give him a bazillion views.
For you and me to understand. Parallax and his canal experiments are a reaction to all of this.
No, just having a look at a boat disappearing.
They are a call for a simplification.
Couldn't get much more simpler than a watching a boat disappear into the distance. Doesn't get much simpler than that.
Of scientific method.
And that's not a scientific method. Observe natural phenomena, formulate hypothesis, systematic experimentation. There you go. That's the simplest dissemination I can give of the method of science. Observe natural phenomena, formulate a hypothesis, perform systematic experimentation. There it is again.
And a return of the senses as the primary force for understanding reality.
No. If you want an empirical method for understanding reality, that's how things happen. That's effects, aka phenomena. Then you can presume what you think causes them and vary it to see if it causes it. If it doesn't, you've proven you're null, giving you an empirical outcome. A did not cause B. Therefore, A, in the entire history of the known universe, will never, ever, ever cause B, because you proved it didn't cause it, empirically. If you do cause B, because you're a genius and you figure out the cause of it, then you've empirically validated what caused the effect you saw in nature. Yeah? There's no just having a look at things to advance our understanding of reality. There's an empirical method in place to do that. It's called the scientific method. Something you haven't got the slightest idea about Johnny Harris.
He called his method of reductionist pseudoscience.
Right, pseudoscience. Yeah? So not science, sham science, fake science. Man, the clue is in the bloody title. Maybe learn what some of these words mean.
The zetetic method. He says that honesty of thought is to look at truth in the face, not the side face, but the full front.
So not science. Yeah, so Parallax, unlike you, you utter clown, who's been labelling his stuff incorrectly this whole time as being science, according to Parallax. No, even he knows it's not science. You just don't know what these words mean. And when you find a little bit where he declares it as quote-unquote pseudoscience, what, like pseudo-force-space gravity? Yeah? Pseudo?
Nathan.
Hello?
Yeah, Nathan. When did Samuel Rowbotham vary his senses when he was looking down the canal?
I blinked.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Adam.
Good afternoon, guys.
Like, just like look at it, go out and observe it for yourself.
That's called a composition fallacy. Let me explain. So the scientific method has step 1, which is observe natural phenomena. So you could go out and observe it yourself. Yeah, observing things happening is a prerequisite step in the scientific method. But the fallacy is where you somehow assume that that single part is attributable to the whole. Now, the whole would be all 3 steps. That's observe natural phenomena, formulate hypothesis, that's establishment of independent variable, that which you assume causes the effect, and dependent variable, which you established at step 1. It's your phenomena you're trying to cause. And then systematic experimentation, which is simply varying your presumed cause to see if it causes the effect. Really straightforward. So he hasn't done that. He doesn't understand it. So he's just taking a single part of the method and ascribing it to the whole. No, that's how we've all been duped. Observe and declare is how you've ended up on a ball, my friend.
He was among several scientists.
None of them scientists, if that's what they're doing.
And mathematicians at the
Mathematicians, maybe.
time who were on this train of
A train? What, are you going to reify science into a train now when you're talking about what mathematicians did?
let's use really simplified reductionist math and science to prove.
Sorry, math and science. No, science is empirical. If you follow the method, you just don't know what it is. So you're reading this.
There he goes.
Go on.
Yeah, sorry. There he goes again. He said he got his numbers right, where we say Earth curve should be. And then he's saying he's using the right numbers, but now he's throwing his own claim of Earth curve away. I mean, when are we ever going to see Earth curve at 1.22 at the observer side being 1 feet? When are we ever going to see that? Well, this guy's saying you can never see it.
Also, please share the show. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. The share button's right there, waiting to be smashed. Not quite at 100 viewers yet.
10th, you can't see it. It's below surface level.
There it is on screen.
Precisely.
Yeah, there it is on screen. The horizon in the geometric physical assertion of an Earth curve with no perspective included in Muppet Vision on side profile is below surface level. There it is on screen. I've left it up for a reason.
Prove that the Earth is actually flat. This argument of the flat Earth.
Not an argument. Earth is measured flat. Your globe model came from those measurements. The grid system used in GPS and navigation in general and plotting maps and projections of maps, that system is devised from elevation angle measurements to Polaris. That's what it's using. So you talk about this argument for a flat Earth. No, it's not an argument. It's not agree, disagree. As advanced heliocentrists here on Flat Earth Debate, we appreciate the origins of your reified globe belief. The origins, the measurements, not debate, are flat. You wouldn't have your globe misapprehension if it wasn't for the flat plane being measured in the first place. It's not an argument, it's a fact. Earth is flat.
Flickered for a little bit in the 1800s, gained a little bit of traction, but then eventually it died out.
Wasn't it the other way around? I mean, you said that you were under the apprehension that, Christopher Columbus was out because he had to prove it? But now it's, a dwindling idea of flat Earth? Why would he be out, according to you, to prove that it's a globe if there was no contest about it and it was just a dwindling idea? I mean, I just don't get this, guys. Is it...
Until just a few years ago.
Really? No, everybody was still navigating on the flat plane. Everybody was still carrying sextants in their aeroplanes when they flew, just as a backup, so that they could use the very process that devised your globe model that you believe in on a flat plane with flat plane angles. That's how it works. That's how the Earth is navigated and built upon.
I refuse to be another vegetable. Pseudoscience garbage will, to me, be unacceptable.
You see, this isn't us. And I don't know, I haven't discussed this with my panel, but I will. Which is to say that we desperately need a rebranding here. Because we are not flat earthers. You know, I've come up with this ad hoc term of advanced heliocentrists. But, maybe we should reterm the show. Again, this is not going to really happen. Maybe we should call it Globe Earth Debate. And say, no, we've decided we don't like flat earthers. They're idiots. They give everybody around us a bad rap. Well, they are. I would more than happily challenge most flat earthers based on their stupid nonsense that they assert as quick as I would a globe believer. Because most of them are just making us all look stupid if we want to call ourselves flat earthers. Hence me saying we should have a rebranding. Advanced heliocentrists. Yeah, advanced heliocentrism, meaning we understand the flat Earth origins. But that doesn't make us flat Earthers, which is where his personal ad-hom attack's going to be directed from here forward, right?
Yeah, I like advanced heliocentrism because we get that story right. They don't. They can't defend it. We show where it came from, how it originated.
So yeah, please share the show on Facebook and Twitter.
Anyone with eyes to see don't have to be susceptible. Dispose of your globe in the nearest waste receptacle.
There is no curvature to this Earth. There is no motion to this Earth.
If you just accept the globe model with no understanding of the flat and no clear evidence for the ball Earth.
Okay, I mean, like I say, advanced heliocentrism is a fine enough title for me. If people say the globe is what it is, you know, you can have a wry smile to yourself and say, no, it's a wonderful model, without necessarily pissing off a whole load of fundy normies that don't even realise they've got a religion.
Well, we're doing that.
Yeah.
We're doing that daily on the show. We are quoting their subject matter experts on what heliocentrism is. And they can't, because when we do it, we do it in such a way where we actually quote them, but there's never proof for it. And then when we go to the origin of how they got to be heliocentrists, that needs a plane.
Problem there?
Flat earthers are back, and their methods are very similar to what...
Right, you're now taking what a flat earther does to be this title on the book, flat, an aspect, earth, the ground you're standing on. No, you need to investigate geometry. You need to figure out, like we have done, where the origins of these models came from. Doesn't matter if it's a concave earth with you living in the middle of a sphere, or a globe earth with you living on the outside of a sphere in a sky vacuum. It doesn't really matter which of the models that you pick. We know how they were originated. We know what was measured, that's Earth, in order to derive them, to give you this globe faith that you have. It's not about the people. You know, the people resurfacing, being publicly upfront about not believing in your religion. Yeah, that might be the case, but you know, like I say, those people with their notions and their stereotypes that you want to ascribe to them isn't going to be us. Because we're telling you how Earth as a sphere actually came to be. And it's because of the measurements of a flat baseline, that's a flat Earth, that gave you the grid system to wrap it around a ball.
Parallax was doing in the 1800s.
Quick shout out to, just 1 second, and Original D-Rose, who's on the panel. He says, Waving Maelstrom is full of you-know-what on here talking about he/she is a cancer specialist disregarding or disagreeing with Nathan about science. Okay. Thank you for the super chat, D-Rose. Really appreciate the support. Well, yeah, you can disagree with me all I like, so I don't care. That's what the chat's for. Feel free to argue away in the peanut gallery. There's a link to the show if you actually have the courage to come and tell me what science actually is. You know, maybe observational science. Yeah, see how you get on. Feel free.
And this is data. This is repeatable, observable, measurable.
Says a man who clearly doesn't know about science. You know, while he's pulling that downward turn face. What, representing me as a flat earther, is he? No, when you say these things with your sort of shaking of your head because you think you kind of know what you're talking about, and saying the word repeatable makes it kind of sound like it's science. No, there's a lot of flat earthers out there who are just as ignorant as you. That would be Johnny Harris, in terms of what they think science is. You don't know, and they don't either. And we appreciate that. Just as frustrating when they do it as you. But, you know, just being repeatable, yeah, that doesn't make it science. Just being observable, or bundling a couple of these different descriptions, doesn't alter the fact that it's still going to be ultimately a fallacy composition, or a composition fallacy. Because you haven't attributed the entirety of the method to minor parts of it, yeah? Making it seem like you've got a good understanding of what science is. Some of these flat earthers, no, they don't. Yeah, we know that. Oh, why have I got no sound from it? There we go.
Is willful ignorance.
They're still zooming into horizons, but now they have hordes of visual stuff to play around with. They now...
So we don't actually need the horizon as a flat earther. Yeah, it's your claim that it's Earth curve. Now, as a practical tool, you can use the horizon to establish a flat baseline to measure elevation angles. That's, using it as a practical tool. And its principles, horizontal, derived from the horizon, as in parallel to the horizon. So you can use an aspect of the horizon to find your way around on a flat plane with angles measured to the stars. Yeah, that's something you can do with the horizon. Like, it practically has a use. Now, for you, that's not the case. Not at all. Even admitting that you're using the horizon to establish horizontal would be admitting that Earth is flat. For you, without any practical use whatsoever, you assert that Earth curve is the geometric tangent point below surface level that has no usefulness whatsoever, other than you proving that there's a, physical hill between you and boats when they stay the same feet and inches value at all distances. Yeah, that's the only thing you're using the horizon for, but yet you reverse the burden like we suddenly have to make claims about what the horizon is or isn't when you're claiming boats and buildings fall over it. Yeah, it's your edge that your boats fall over. Go on.
I find it kind of funny that he says, "Oh, look at them, they're still zooming into horizons." Yeah, we're zooming into completely flat horizons. What are you guys not zooming into? Curvature. Were you guys not filming ever? Curvature. Thanks, buddy.
Oh dear.
And it's knocking us for looking at horizons. It's like it's fundamental to your claim that Earth's a sphere. Check it out, it's on screen, marked with an X, labelled horizon. There's your proof that there's a physical sagittor, a geometric limitation to your view at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. It's a fundamental basis of your globe belief when you think you see the side of your own head and the side of a hill getting in the way and boats and buildings not changing in their physical size when they reduce in apparent size as they get further away from you. It's all on screen right there for you, and the most central point of this diagram, the crux of your globe faith, is the horizon. But you got the audacity to moan that flat earthers are looking at the horizon. Yeah, no, you need us to be, because it's the only thing that gives any validity to your assertion in your maths that has no practical application. As is useful. It isn't, because the surface level horizon that you can establish and correct dip to hasn't got anything to do with this horizon in your maths that's below the surface level. It has no use, other than claiming Earth's a sphere. Well, we debunked that when we and Rowbotham showed that it's not physically blocking things into the distance. What's that? If you flip it in side view, it is. If you refract the line and say that it's refraction and show some examples of light doing stuff when it goes through blocks of glass. Yeah, meanwhile, you don't have sphere-shaped air and light isn't Muppet vision. You don't see the side of light rays. I never see the side of my own head and a physical Earth curve in the way and a target beyond it and a line between it, which I call light. This is a nonsense assertion of the world that you think you live in when you, let's get that clear, need the horizon to prove your belief that the horizon is an edge for boats to fall over.
Now have airplanes. They now have satellite imagery to play around with.
Satellites? Really? See, the GPS system also uses a flat plane. Uses an Euclidean grid system. It's not using a globe. Far from it. Now, those satellites, I've never seen one, and there's no footage of them, but we've got some footage of balloons. I'm just speculating that potentially anything that is attributed to the satellites we don't see in an area of space that would leave us all without gas to breathe, because it's a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr. But, if you want to say that this guy who is absolutely without question strapped to a harness and suspended from the ceiling. That's what this man is. He's on a set. Now, having done performing arts and lighting and sound and stagecraft and directing and trapeze, I'm pretty familiar with what a guy in a harness looks like, and this is what they look like. What's that you say? Well, the roof's there. No, they add that in post. Very easy to do. Go and watch the movie Gravity with Sandra Bullock. It's behind-the-scenes footage that shows how they do this. Just with Sandra Bullock. So this guy's on a trapeze. He's on a high wire. He's strapped into a harness on very thin wires. That's your proof of a man floating around in a sky vacuum that would leave us without any gas pressure? Oh, well, crappy discernment. Go back in history and look at the moon landings and you'll see it's just stop-motion animation. Models. Absolutely pathetic. And this is no better. Just a man on a set on Earth fooling the general public that he's in a sky vacuum. Right, so he needs all this tin can around him, to keep the gas pressure inside? But as he looks out the window, he's going to see Earth without any containment and the gas on it not expanding into the space that he needs to protect himself from. Don't you see how absurd that is? Space, where he's claiming to be when he does his little stage show on his little high wire, is a fake place he cannot be. That's why he's got to fake it on a high wire.
They now have the moon landing.
Yeah, that was a guy on high wire. The guy upside down? Yeah, it's spinning upside down on a high wire. That's what you look like when you go round the harness on a trapeze.
Ending to dissect. And
oh, here we go. So you're going to show us how they could have done it on a green screen when they didn't have green screen technology? No, I don't think so, but you can see the backdrops. They weren't green screens on the moon landing, it was backdrops. Again, something that I learned at college. When are painted backdrops. So I know what a backdrop is. And that's what you've got in the moon landing footage, a backdrop. Yeah? It's not green. Yeah, you seem to be misunderstanding the optical timeline of technology when it comes to faking things for NASA. No, they had backdrops back in those days. That's what they used on films and still to this day. Backdrops, look it up. A massive curtain with pictures painted on it. Yeah, that's what they used.
now they're taking levels onto airplanes, like I did.
Why? So that you can assert that if it doesn't nose down, it doesn't need to nose down, even though it's traversed an 8 inches per mile squared drop that you haven't in any way experienced, but they're then attributed incorrectly to a non-force pseudo-Ramonian force space time bending. Yeah, that's right, you heard me correctly, Johnny Harris. Pseudo force space time bending. So definitely not science, just pseudo, sham, fake science of a time dimension bending as a result of the uneven distribution of mass. Like, you didn't really explain how a plane never nosing down into the void that would be opening up ahead it below ground level. Yeah, this void below ground level, below surface level. Yeah, they track about 5 degrees above surface level. Yeah, they're never corrected for it. But what? Because you didn't see any either. It's suddenly gravity fourth dimensional pseudo space time bending that caused it to stay level. No, mate, gyros debunk that notion. You know, like you asserted when you got on the plane, but then found yourself confirming what Daryl had shown.
Your plane can't go upside down.
It'd need to, though. You're right, mate. As much as you don't know what science is, you understand the simple facts of being on a plane traversing a curved surface. You've got to drop around it. That means you've got to nose down at some point.
Here's the thing, globe hugger.
Like the flat earthers in the 1800s, the flat earthers today want to use their own intuition and senses to understand reality.
Or we could measure it and make models with it. You know, like measuring angles to Polaris and then drawing out some concentric circles going outwards and then making them into latitude lines and then putting them on a grid and then wrapping that grid around a ball and then projecting that ball out onto a tube and then rolling that tube out flat. And then you have the Mercator projection. Isn't that amazing? Yeah, and then you can use that flat map with a flat grid on it, yeah, to match up with the stars that you originally measured off a flat Earth. Now, I don't need any senses when it comes to that, other than eyeballs, to see the star and measure the angle. But ultimately, the model I'd be referencing has come from a flat Earth ultimately anyway. So I don't really understand what senses I need when I know that every single model that you can believe in, including the globe, has come from measurements taken from a flat Earth.
And in the process, they reject and ignore the huge body of science.
The body of science. That's a reification fallacy. Science doesn't have a body, it doesn't have lips. And you can't ignore it, it's not an irritating kid poking you. Yeah, it's a method of establishing cause and effect reasoning based on systematic experimentation, based on a hypothesis, based on a natural phenomena you want to know the cause of, that you observed in nature, aka not something man-made. Yeah, there's no body of science to ignore. Now, if you ignore actual science, that's empirically validated experimentation, then you're an idiot, because that can benefit humanity and does and will continue to do so long as it's performed. What people like Parallax ignored the just so stories about Muppet Vision side view and seeing the side of your own head and light bending through a sphere-shaped atmo. No, it's just people ignoring nonsense stories told to them by self-professed pseudoscientists because they're claiming to be science. Well, they're not. And anything that hasn't been through the method, if you looked up what pseudoscience actually means, It's a claim of science that hasn't been through the method. Okay, everything you're talking about?
That we all live with today.
So,
what body of science would that be?
People that have physics degrees.
Is that what it is? This guy? Yeah, this little 10-year-old with his mutton chops telling us about people with astronomy degrees. Astronomy's not science. That's looking through telescopes and naming things. It's not establishing cause and effect through the method. So if you're going to say that that's physics, it's not even in the bracket of physics, because you're not dealing with the physical when you're looking through telescopes. Sorry, is it tangible? Are you touching the lights? How physical are they when you look through your telescope? This guy, this clown, this child on screen, he doesn't know what science is either. But presumably he's been through a little, polytechnic astronomy course?
Astronomy degrees. They got their...
All right, they got their degrees and looking at stuff in the sky, therefore they're science.
Degree by regurgitating what their teacher or the books told them.
Instead of trigonometry and telescopes and...
Trigonometry? That's an interesting term. Where would that be applied with your globe Earth, I wonder? Telescopes, another interesting one where you seem to think through composition fallacy that you've got the entire body of science within those observations and declarations. No, you don't know what science is.
In canals, the flat earthers today use videos and photos circulated on the internet.
I don't. No, I talk about elevation angle measurements and how your globe was made using flat earth angles. That's what I talk about. Right, well, where are the images circulated on the internet? No. Your guy in a plane, should everything go wrong, has a backup. It's a sextant. And the principle is measuring angles, establishing a horizontal baseline, either with a bubble or with the horizon. Yeah, that's right. You can actually practically apply the horizon to something. Yeah, establishing Earth's flat to get angles from it. Yeah, you can use the horizon for that. Naming it as a point below a surface level that blocks boats and buildings in mathematics that you have Muppet vision in. That's not a use for the horizon. But the plane that you went on, the captain had a sextant under his seat, just in case everything else shit the bed and it all went wrong. Well, if that was going to be the case, then he would have needed to establish Earth as flat to measure an angle to a star to find out where his position is with triangulation. So what is that? Is that an image I circulated, or is that a fact about the flight you went on and a fact about the model and map used to navigate Earth and the fact that it all based itself upon Earth being flat? No, those aren't pictures I've circulated from the internet. I was telling you about the flight you went on and how the guy needed a sextant to measure Earth flat in case he got lost and all the instruments went wrong.
Azimuthal equidistant projection map that the USGS actually uses is the flat Earth map.
Wait, did he just say azimuthal equidistant projection?
Yeah, he did. He said azimuthal equidistant projection. That's correct. Do you know what projection is? Maybe you should look it up. Because the globe has come from flat Earth elevation angle measurements to Polaris to give you latitude lines to wrap around a sphere to then project out onto a cylinder to then roll out flat in the case of the Mercator projection, which is the most commonly used for navigation. Well, that is a projection. Did you know that? Yeah, in this case, he's got an azimuthal equidistant projection, and Eric Debay has reified that into the world we live in. Yeah, like I say, we don't call ourselves flat earthers. We do Earth's flat. We call ourselves advanced heliocentrists here, because we understand the origins of your globe model in terms of its projection ability.
It's like my favorite projection. Is that the flat Earth map?
No, it's not. You can project that map from any point. I think it was JFK had one on his flight, in whatever he calls it, Air Force One. When he was in charge, he had a Texas-centric map that was azimuthal equidistant, but not North Pole-centric, Texas-centric.
What is the easiest way to...
How long are we at? An hour and 6 minutes of live. This might be the opportunity to round out. Maybe not, because we've only got 2 or 3 minutes.
Seriously. In true internet fashion, this new current movement of flat earthers has become just a...
Again, there he is. Flat earthers, movement of flat earthers. Number 1, flat earth. It's not going to move. Yeah. Number 2, you're anthropomorphizing the concept because you're too scared to actually take it at face value. Literally. Flat, an aspect, earth, the ground. Now it's a movement of people. Pathetic. Quick shout out to Original D-Rose, who says, Oh, it's already gone. There we go. W. Rupert, get in the chat to express your assertions. Yeah, indeed. You feel free to use your cash to encourage people onto the show, D-Rose. I really appreciate the financial support. I'm poor. Which reminds me of one of the comments I got yesterday. So, in response to this video, someone put in the comments, "E-beg more, it suits you." So my response was, Nathan, : globe earth requires a flat earth. Globe muppet, : you are poor. That was their response. Anyway, noteworthy. Thanks for your comments. Really appreciate it. Help me in the algorithm, even if you're slagging me off for being poor. Not a great rebuttal, but still, I like the algorithmic assistance.
Bunch of bumper sticker type assertions and images that are really easy to share. Just like Parallax's experiments, these methodologies...
Not experiments. They weren't experiments. Not an experiment. I'm not going to go through it again.
Completely ignore the way the natural world is observed to work by...
So natural world observed to work, sort of like natural law. One of those laws... Go on, Chocolate.
Did he say the natural world is observed? Wait, wasn't... Am I correct? I could be wrong, but wasn't he making fun of flat earthers a little while ago for using their senses?
Yeah.
Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. And then in science, the first step of the scientific method is observing a natural phenomenon. Do you need your senses for that?
Yes, you do.
Okay. And the fairy tale of, oh, boats are disappearing with a curve. Did you need your senses to observe that? To even make that claim?
Yes, he would have. Even though it's Muppet Vision in the assertion, but yes, to reify the horizon into Muppet Vision in the first instance, or take a picture of it, he'd needed his senses to then do the old switcheroo into Muppet Vision, but yes.
Oh, I see. So the senses that we all are born with and use and navigate life and reality with are only good when they confirm your belief in a heliocentric, nonsensical, magical spinning water ball flying around in a vacuum.
That's correct.
Other than that, it's null and void.
That's correct. If your senses lead you to see a boat in the distance where the maths would say it's blocked by Earth curve, then your senses are stupid and you should understand maths.
Like thousands of years of scientific consensus.
Scientific consensus? So you have been duped. You think that when men agree with each other, that makes the world you live in. That's idiotic. Yeah? A consensus reality isn't a reality that we live in, because it doesn't matter how many people agree that the bunny-shaped cloud in the sky is a bunny. Yeah? If we have a consensus on that, it doesn't make it reality. Now, the people who control the world would love it if everybody conformed to this notion that if they say it's science and everybody agrees, that's the world you live in. Because that opens the gate to parallel universes, time travel, anything they tell you. Time travel's real. Is it? Yeah, look at all these scientists. They're all saying it's true. They are. Yeah, they all agree. They're all in a consensus. Therefore, science. All right. Let's just forget about the empirical method of establishment of cause and effect reasoning based on an experiment. Sod that. Because they all agree. Right, Dumbo? Scientific consensus. Years of scientific consensus. So years of them saying science says it's a ball. Therefore, it's a ball. Yeah, that's how they got you, mate.
I mean, obviously, none of those quote-unquote scientists came to that consensus using their senses, right? Because obviously that's null and void, as was just established by him, Mr. whatever his damn name is.
Johnny Harris, who you should let know. Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Hopefully you'd respond and put a link to my video.
Johnny, how are those senses doing? Do you use those things to navigate the reality you live in? Do you use those things to establish that we live on a sphere? Because
that's why all
the senses that I have tell me that I'm on a flat stationary plane.
That's why they put the word consensus.
Oh, you're getting a bit conspiratorial there, 10th.
But if you go to the FAQ page of the Flat Earth Society, you'll see what they're after here. They believe that evidence is, quote, relying on your own senses to discern the true nature of the world around us.
Okay, that's fair enough. So that's the Flat Earth Society.
That's the best evidence. And in that vein...
Hang on. Pause, please. So what's the difference between scientific consensus versus my own senses?
Well, only if, I guess, a group of people who use their senses come to a consensus, then it's cool. But you on your own, your senses mean nothing. Thanks, Johnny.
Classic.
That's what these people are doing.
I mean, so in the physics world today, do they not understand that convex lenses or fisheye lenses or GoPro?
Yeah, none of those are science. Yeah, you're saying the physics community, this is Jeranism speaking. Again, somebody who hasn't got the slightest idea what science is. Yeah, because there's no physics community. It's a method. Physics is the study of the physical. When you're talking about barrel distortion in lenses, that's technology. When you're talking about cameras and GoPro distortion, that's technology, not science. Again, you know, there's lots of people in what is called the flat Earth community that don't appreciate the book cover or title either. You know, flat, the ground we're standing on, Earth. You know, that's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with technology when we deal with physics. That's the physical and natural world.
At a distorted view?
Hold on. Can I ask a question? How come in all of these videos, I don't hear anybody quoting anything from Flat Earth Debate? It's always Jaron, or it's always Eric Dubay, or it's always this guy and that guy, but nothing from here. I wonder why that is. Just curious. Continue.
Because they're more popular than we are, Neil. I don't have any objection with that. If you want to be all conspiratorial about how they've got more popular than us, then fine. But that's the bottom line. You could speculate that it's easier to debunk somebody who also doesn't have the slightest idea about science, in this case. Therefore, wouldn't it make sense to promote the people that are ignorant of the actual truth of the world and how it's geometrically... Go on, Neil.
That's my point. They can't stop putting us with flat earthers. Talk about flat earth debaters.
Or talk about us, like I'm encouraging when I constantly tell them to go and tell him we sent them. And yeah, Neil, I'm way ahead of you.
So, what have I learned from all of this?
Nothing. You don't know what science is. You don't know what parallax means. You think he's a DJ. And you've anthropomorphized flat Earth. That's flat and aspect Earth, the ground we're standing on, into flat earthers. So I would think you've learnt precisely nothing.
From my understanding, the Flat Earther movement, whether from the 1800s...
The Flat Earther movement. Yeah, there's the anthropomorphization.
Or today on the internet, is actually not totally about the shape of the Earth.
It's all it's... Way to summarise precisely my point. So your conclusion is flat, an aspect, and Earth isn't about Earth. That's your conclusion. What a revelation. It's like I got the book on cow farming, I read all the way through it, and I came to the conclusion it's not about cow farming. Right? You utter clown.
I'm wondering if he's going to say it's not about the shape of the Earth. It's about the lack of trust that flat earthers have in scientific consensus. Just wondering.
This movement has a much broader message built into it. There's a reason why 1984 is like in the canon of the Flat Earther movement.
It's like in the canon of the Flat Earth movement? No. We talk about how Earth's navigated, how the models were developed. These things are documented with your own globe Earth believing references. That's what we're doing. We're taking what is claimed to be globe Earth rhetoric and showing it you in terms of the origins of the flat Earth needed to make a globe Earth assertion. Yeah, you've got this misapprehension that it's some sort of movement. No, it's about the ground. I realised you cognitively needed to remove it because you've got an automatic bias about it being sphere-shaped. Therefore, it couldn't possibly be about the ground.
1984 has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. What it does have to
Nathan, his double think was getting to him, so he had to project onto flat earthers now that they are double speaking 1984 people because he started to notice it about himself. That's what I think happened.
Pure projection, absolutely right. Shout out to Vlad on Flat Earth, who says, great show. Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Vlad. Really appreciate the support.
to do with is being skeptical of big institutions that are probably watching you, that are probably controlling your life, that are probably feeding you bad information.
Really? I just mentioned
there
that
we go.
Yeah, not trusting. You're right, Chocolate. You did call it. I should acknowledge that. Yes, Chocolate was absolutely right. It's about us not trusting the consensus of the people in charge. Yeah, this is pure projection, very much Conspiracy Cats-esque. Go and check out his video on Haunted House channel, where he spills his guts in the third person about how terrifying it would be to then realise that you couldn't trust all of these institutions. Yeah, I knew that when I was about 12.
So
you know, I figured that out when they lied in the news. Go ahead, Tenth.
No, it's like the number one stories you hear on the news, if you do watch it or surf the net, is how governments and tech companies are spying on you and watching you. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, aren't we standing in opposition to what he's saying, whereas we're saying there aren't sciences that are legitimate? You don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. In his mind, if it's not a sphere, then all science is gone.
Yeah, which is, in answer to Neil's question, why perhaps someone like Jaron is advantageous in a promoted position. Because they're throwing the baby out with the bathwater, as you phrased it, when it comes to science. Don't the sciences know about barrel distortion? No, well, the sciences isn't something that's reifiable because it's a method. So no, science isn't going to know anything, but it's useful to brace against that. If you're like, well, the sciences say it's a sphere, and the flat earthers say that sciences are wrong. You know, well, that makes it a very one-sided argument and fight about whether or not science is right or wrong. No, the method of science, if employed, is empirical, and the outcome advances humanity. We understand that much better than a flat earther doesn't. That's much easier to brace against, wouldn't you agree? I mean, I'm speculating for the sake of Neil's, to indulge Neil. Yeah, Nathan, we all agree. Yeah, well, it's just speculation. Yes. I mean, I've no idea. Maybe people just like him.
To retain power.
No, we're not crazy. We're just sick of the lies.
Here's the thing. Most of the knowledge we have about the natural world and the universe, we've never seen.
Sorry, what? The natural world, that's physics. And its only task is to find out about the physical and natural world. Any advancement in science is based on gaining a better understanding of the physical and natural world. It's physics! My God, that was the stupidest statement you have said for this entire video, Johnny Harris. Really? We've never seen it? Really? No, they didn't see men dying of scurvy. They didn't see that. I mean, we can basically understand that about our universe. No, actually, mate, what is in reality occurring is that what you thought was physics and science was looking at lights in the sky, something intangible that you're told about with a just-so story of its physicality. But actually, we know so little about the intangible crap they make stories up about and call it consensus science when there's absolutely no empiricism offered whatsoever. That's what it really means when you think it's never been seen. No, we've never seen any proof for any of the validity that they say they've got for their just-so stories when they look through their telescopes.
Can you rewind that?
Yeah,
can you rewind that again, please? For like,
I know exactly where chocolate.
We're not crazy. We're just sick of the lies.
Here's the thing. Most of the knowledge we have about the natural world and the universe, we've never seen. We've never seen exoplanets.
Like an embedded confession. You've never seen them, but what, you just accept them?
That's the disclaimer. Yeah. Right there. He just disevaluated everything that he just said in this video. The knowledge that we have, the consensus, all this bullshit that he was just talking about, we've never seen it. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for the embedded confession.
To you.
Yeah, it's called an embedded confession. Right. But what he has a misapprehension about being science and it never being seen is just so stories that have no validity. That doesn't mean that the majority of science is unseen, because no actual science advances humanity. You utter clown.
Or the deep space telescopes that...
No, we've not seen it, have we? Because space is fake. You see, natural law, falsely described sometimes as scientific law, has the second law of thermodynamics description of entropic dispersion into availability of space. And what do you know? They call this place where this satellite is space. And it's not like it looks like a 2001 A Space Odyssey model or anything. I mean, no. There's definitely a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum in the form of this black area. Yeah, definitely. And below it, this little corner of an Earth that you can see here, that's high pressure gas, just not expanding into a vacuum, because gas behaves like that, doesn't it? Now, you see, while you're talking about us not being able to have tangible laws of nature when you talk about your space satellites, in reality, a very tangible law of nature is entropy. The dispersion of gas is something we can observe. Meanwhile, atmosphere, that's sphere-shaped air, without containment, is a violation of this natural law, something that's very tangible and a description of something that occurs in nature always. And we can very much experience it's very much tangible. Unlike your descriptions, you total clown. Yet make sure you let Johnny Harris know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me.
Okay, can I add a PS to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Johnny, maybe go tell all the exoplanet astrophysicists that we don't see exoplanets by your terminology. So you just debunked their entire careers. Thank you.
That tell us so much about our universe. Instead, we read about this stuff. We benefit from its findings.
Sorry, how do we benefit? Because I would assert that having a physical edge for boats to fall over, marked with an X below surface level called the geometric horizon, as depicted in this diagram, has no practical benefit whatsoever. You will not give me an example where this is useful to something. Meanwhile, the horizon that you would establish parallel with eye level, at surface level, that horizon, the horizon we actually observe and utilise to establish a flat baseline, so you can match it up with the, grid system used when you measure the stars to give you the grid system. That sort of navigation system that's still used to this day, including on the aeroplanes with the sextants they carry around. Well, that horizon, not this one. The horizon we actually experience and use to establish horizontal. That horizon has practical application in navigation to this day. This horizon has absolutely no practical use at all, other than to give you the claim that boats fall over an edge. This edge, when you show it in Muppet Vision, boat down here falling over hill edge. Yeah, that's your claim. No practical application to that. So maybe you could tell us, what benefits we've actually had from this, because there aren't any from your globe edge for boats to fall over. Go ahead, whoever that was.
Yeah, that was me. He just did. He just told us that we can't see any of this stuff, but we benefit from the stuff we can't see because they explain it to us. I mean, what a moron.
We pay our taxes to fund more of it. Science.
Yeah. we can't see it. We definitely benefit from it. And what was the benefit? We get taxed for it. Sorry, moving past the benefits you didn't give us, it's about how much we pay towards doing this shit. Yeah, I love it. Embedded confession after embedded confession. We benefit from it. We get taxed from it. Well, so weren't you going to list off the benefits? Yeah, I point out that the geometric horizon that we debunked in 2020 has no practical application whatsoever beyond it being a sphere edge for boats to fall over for you to believe you're on the reified below surface level ball with its below surface level horizon with no practical application. Other than you believing boats are falling over an edge, it doesn't do anything. I mean, you can use a surface level horizon to establish horizontal to navigate with, and it could save your life. But you think you've got benefits, and the benefits are non-listable, and you're being taxed to do it. Yeah.
This is Nathan. This is why.
Senses, you mean? We don't need senses. We just teach about knowledge about things we don't see. There you go.
Yeah.
What a clown.
And this is also an embedded confession why they don't ever need to see the geometric horizon, because they explain it to us, but we can't see it.
Science is like a tall tower, and each individual researcher and institution adds a little brick to that tower, each brick resting on the one below it. No one person sees or understands all of the bricks.
So you're describing compartmentalization. There's a big word for you. Why? Why are we describing this?
And he's also describing how if your foundation isn't solid, you don't have a structure above it. So if you build everything on the idea that the horizon is geometric, everything else is garbage after that.
It's a good job that his world of view of having a sphere Earth beneath his feet is actually built on the flat Earth elevation angle measurements that built the grid system to make the sphere, because then you rely on those rather than the geometric horizon you can't see or measure. So it's a good job it's based on a flat Earth, really, because that's a very solid foundation. And as advanced heliocentrists, we know this, how strong the flat Earth foundation for the globe is.
Instead, we have a system of debate, review, scrutiny that only allows the most accurate information to be added to the tower.
No, definitely not. Your tower, no, that's made of sand, my friend. It's not made of bricks, because your tower is based on consensus. And often people get things wrong. Now, our tower here on this show is scientific in nature. That is to say, it's based on an empirical method where there is no question about whether or not the information provided at the end of the method needs to be described metaphorically as a brick. It absolutely, without question, will be the foundation of scientific advancement going forward if you prove the cause of an effect. You show me one example where something that has been through the method hasn't benefited humanity. Show me an example where proving cause and effect reasoning through systematic experimentation based on hypothesis didn't benefit us, right? It's not a foundation for consensus that's a benefit to humanity. It's actual science, son. Now, if you knew what it was, you'd know that. You'd know that literally people's lives have been saved as a result of validation of hypothesis. That's experiment, aka the scientific method. Further to that, you'd know that people have been saved at sea because of their use of a flat Earth that is the foundation for your globe belief. When they measured the angles to the stars to find their way home, they needed a flat Earth to do that. And they still do. Like I mentioned with the planes, with sextants on board, still. That's a flat Earth foundation right there, my friend. Suck it up.
And honestly, I don't think humans are well suited to adapt to this very impersonal way of understanding the world.
No, you're not adapted to anything beyond being told what you need to understand and how you need to think and how you need to pay your taxes to be thinking what you're told to think. That's what you need, because you have absolutely zero discernment. None whatsoever. Further to that, if anything conflicts with what you believe to be discernment, you'll go out and find something to affirm your bias in the first instance, like you did with gravity, when the plane didn't dip down around the void that's opening up at 8 inches per mile squared. This gravity, just pseudo force space. Not that you defined it. Yeah, you're a cuck.
We have evolved over millions of years.
No, we haven't. Evolution is a lie also.
With our senses as our main driver of survival. And now we live in a society that is run by big...
Hold on. Excuse me. Because our senses are our main course of survival. Our senses, the same one he made fun of flat earthers for using. Wow. Bro, Johnny, you need to get your shit together, brother.
I don't really think at this point that he's just, it's accident. I mean, this is all this is malevolent.
No, what he's done in the last 2 minutes summarizing is saying, we don't have any proof. We just have to believe that brick upon brick of ivory tower, these guys are telling us, and this makes everything. And it's above the human species to ever critically think, so we have to trust everything. And then he says we've gotten here by our senses. I mean, this is...
No, but this is malevolent at this point. I mean, I can't really believe that somebody could accidentally roll out something that egregiously inside out. I mean,
no, it's that he doesn't know what he's saying.
No, I can. This is pure cognitive dissonance. I've been saying it the whole time.
But not that much. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Systems and impersonal institutions that we will never touch and feel, much less understand.
Right. What about the people in the institutions?
Oh, wow.
He's so dumb that he doesn't realise that the people inside the institutions are just human flesh and blood like him. Because he's so dumb and doesn't understand this stuff, the institutions are untouchable. What do you think they are? Floating brains? Oh, my God.
Listen, we can never understand what they tell us to believe. Just believe it.
Talk about projecting out your own stupidity.
And that's why we have people who believe the world is flat.
What, because you could only ever tolerate the institutional consensus-based reality you've been fed? That's why we have people believing the world is flat. You're in a category error. It's not a believe, not agree, disagree. It's not debatable. Your model of a globe is based in a foundation of a flat Earth angle measurement to a star called Polaris. That's what gives you latitude. That's what gives you the grid system to project things onto spheres, to calculate them out, project them onto tubes, to roll them out flat, maintaining the grid system measured off a flat Earth. It's not belief. That's how it's used. Yeah, go and have a look at how the celestial sphere works. Now, you might see it with you in the centre of a globe Earth, with a globe Earth wrapped around you, you're in the core, and then around that you've got the celestial sphere, just to keep the numpty normies happy that there's still a globe involved. But it's absolutely redundant. It's surplus to requirements. You don't need the globe. The angle's coming from the celestial sphere, and the plane is the equatorial plane, again, derived from measurements to the stars. That's angles off a flat plane. This isn't a belief. These are facts. Facts that you don't understand as an amateur heliocentrist / anti-flat earther.
Despite conclusive evidence.
What conclusive evidence? You gave us a load of crap that you showed, and we pulled apart every single aspect of it, including the on for 1 fraction of 1 second picture that was actually down the barrel of Parallax's telescope. Yeah, that DJ?
Contrary. This belief is a proxy for a much larger paradigm that mistrusts anything that you can't touch and feel.
What? I mistrust anything that you can't touch and feel because you've got a belief and a trust in stuff you can't touch or feel. This is projection.
And so, yeah, I'm really sad that only 84% of people can...
72.4% of statistics are made up on the spot. Vic Reeves.
Say with certainty that they've always believed the world is a globe. And that...
Hold on a second. Nature, can you hear me? Yes, Nathan. What percentage of wanker is this guy? He's about 94.7% wanker. Thank you, Nature.
Thank you for that.
That was classic.
Quick shout out
Thank
to
you, Mother.
Jamals24, who says, the level of misunderstanding by the host and panel is mind-boggling. I just got here, but I already know I'm going to need a few hours to process what I've been hearing, maybe 4. Well, you need maybe 4 more hours to process it, JMails24. Very subtle indeed. How many people are watching? You might get your wish. Nah, there's 100 people watching. Why? What's going on? Why such massively variant numbers? There was like 140 people watching yesterday. Today, 100. What? I don't get it. Anybody got any idea why the numbers are so massively wildly variant?
It's Friday. It's snowing.
Of course. He was right in front of my nose the whole time, Arwin.
Well, snow influences the mood.
That's 64% for younger
Are we
people.
going to grade this guy?
Well, yeah. I did make a mental note of that, John. I was going to get to that.
Only 64% of people. Like that just blows my mind, and it's incredibly sad. But
sorry, where did you get the statistic from? How big was the focus
He
group?
just read it somewhere, and now he thinks he's really smart because he has this statistic, which he probably doesn't even know how that information was derived at all. So he's just blabbering like an idiot who thinks he's really smart.
Not at all. I mean, he gave you some very good advice to ask nature. I did. And we got a 94% on the wankometer from nature when I asked.
Listen, he's sad because more people aren't duped like he is to question authority.
Duped by knowledge of things we haven't seen.
Right.
Way to go.
And senses that should be ignored, except we've survived all this time because of our senses.
Look, no.
Don't get too hung up on details, man.
You do not understand the separation that he's given us, right? There's the institutional senses that are completely infallible, and then there's his senses, and he don't know nothing, he don't understand, so must trust taxes paid on many men with good brain.
That's right. Floating brains.
Yeah,
Also,
the floating brain, the infallible floating brains.
We could trust the senses of the people we pay taxes to. And then they can therefore tell us fairy tales that we need to believe because they've given us the consensus information based on things we've never seen or measured or observed in any way, shape, or form.
And the government standards that are applied to this knowledge, I mean, we all know how high government standards are. So, it's very expensive. So therefore, this is the top quality information that we all need and should adhere to. It's based on consensus. That's basically science. So, yeah, I mean, it's all very reasonable. Yeah, we'll give him a grade, John, don't you worry.
Despite this belief, this movement, these conventions, this total lunacy, science will continue to do its thing.
Interesting terminology. Lunacy is the assertion that you are a lunatic. We went over this the other day by coincidence. So in England, if you are a lunatic, you'll be locked up in the Barming mental asylum, which is where we as Brits get the term barmy. So if you are a member of the Barming mental institution because you have been looking at the moon, I mean, what kind of crazy idiot that spends any time looking at the moon, therefore lunatic, that's barmy. But he's just said this is lunacy. Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, we do look at the moon. Yeah, I pay quite a close attention to it. Yeah, fascinated with how it seems to tie in with the weather cycles that we have throughout the seasons. So internally, inside the seasons, the cyclical nature that we observe seems to correlate somehow with the moon. Fascinating stuff. Lock him up! Cart him off to Barming! Barmy.
Celestial navigation, Nathan, is the other derivation for the term lunatic. So before longitude-latitude competitions were won, to ascertain it at sea by taking local time, ships would have lunatics on board. Somebody that was able to ascertain that longitude via the position of the moon and the phases.
No way, I did not know that. Wow.
That's one of those crazy facts that jumps out at you.
Indeed.
Continue to go out, observe the world with these amazing tools that we have, come back, debate it, and add to this tower of knowledge that helps us see the world as it really is.
What's wrong with your eyeballs? I mean, I don't need any assistance. When I look at the world, I see the world as it really is. Yeah? Now, you see the world as being a ball in a sky vacuum, which isn't how you see the world. But you've got the audacity to tell me to go out and, what, is it useful advice? My eyes are wide open and I see the world as it really is. Yeah, you see the world as the consensus institutions have told you that it is. The audacity of this guy, it's unreal.
Yeah, it is. It's aggravating, actually. I'm wondering if you need your senses to make any use of those tools he was just talking about. Do you need your senses to evaluate what those tools are telling you?
No,
just wondering.
No, he don't need those senses for those tools. Institution man needs senses.
I want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, Skillshare. Yeah, why are you sponsoring this guy? I mean, he's thick as shit, and yet you've given him money. I mean, it's basically bringing Skillshare into disrepute, as far as I'm concerned.
Skillshare. This guy just told you that your senses mean nothing unless they come from consensus. Why are you sponsoring this clown?
What skill? What skill does he actually have? I'm sorry.
It's only true if you get taxed.
He's got the skill of rounding up 3.75 million subscribers and harvesting the benefits financially of garnering 9.8 million views over 3 years by talking about flat earthers in a video about why people think the world is flat. That's how and why. I don't know what else to say.
So his skill is being a numpty.
Yeah.
No, it's the skill of deception.
No. What he's doing, he's providing a channel for all the heliocentrist, globe-loving people to feel comfortable amidst their logic and reasoning, telling him it's not a globe and we're not spinning. So he has to do this show to cuddle these people.
Yeah, because the consensus, like I said before, is a very nice, warm, comfy blanket. And he can't go to sleep without his little blanket of consensus, in which they can use their senses to tell you about things that we've never seen. This guy's out of his mind, bro.
So he's like conspiracy cats. If he knows that the awful truth would be devastating to him.
That's exactly how I view it, Neil. But with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, be sure to let Johnny know that we've responded to his video with a little comment on his video. Hopefully a link will go past in the live stream chat now. And you can let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. And we love your stuff. You know, don't scare him off with a horrible comment telling him Earth is flat. But let him know Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. But with that, I'm going to wish, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. Another massive thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, joined as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley once again. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!